Most career advice about visibility assumes that you're naturally outgoing. That I personally think really caters towards extroverted people and doesn't really acknowledge the skills and the strength that we as introverts have. But there's a completely different visibility strategy that works much better for introverts. I'm a fellow introvert and I'm also a senior people consultant, where for 4 years I worked in a Big Four consulting firm on all things people, leadership, and culture. So the usual advice that you would probably hear is something like go to more events and network your way through, meet as many people as possible so that your name is known, promote yourself as much as possible, and make sure that people hear about how great you are. If you are an introvert, which I'm hoping you are if you're watching this, then you probably have your soul crushing inside of you as you listen to these, because mine does. For the longest time, we've been led to believe that this means that we're inferior or not capable, or we're not as worthy of success in the corporate world or generally the working world. And I think that couldn't be further from the truth. And if anything, I would love to see more introverted leaders in companies really showcasing their strengths, because we have many. They're just different from extroverted people. No one is better or worse. We're just different. But because the working world is so biased towards rewarding extroversion, rewarding loudness and dominating presence, and really kind of making space for yourself at the expense of others, we don't really think about our introverted skill set as something that can be used for visibility. We think that we have to become someone that we're not, i.e. an extroverted person, to succeed. But if you pretend to be someone that you're not for long enough, you will get so incredibly drained and burnt out from it, because there's only this long you can go before that mask starts to crumble, and also you start crumbling inside from wearing it that long. You can't be pretending forever, and there'll come a point where you'll realize that you've been building this persona that is not really you, and it's not showcasing who you actually are. And even though you might get success and promotions with that, because that is what gets rewarded a lot of the time, you will kind of feel like it's not been your real self that got that success. It was this fake alter ego that you've created just for work. And that's just not fun. And I know that, of course, we have different ways that we show up. We're different as a friend, we're different as a partner, we're different as a kid or as a parent. And we're also different at work. So I'm not necessarily saying the whole shebang around bring your full authentic self to work, because we can't really. It is work, and we have to filter the bits of ourselves that we bring to it and the parts that we don't really showcase as much. For example, I have a sense of humor that maybe would get me sent to HR sometimes, because I don't filter with my closest friends as much. I couldn't be doing that at work, possibly, because it's just not something that feels appropriate for the workplace. However, when it comes to having a sense of humor generally and liking an occasional joke here and there, or like easing the tension and maybe not being so serious all the time, I do sometimes sprinkle that in when I'm at work. And I think it really depends on who I'm with and what the context is. But sometimes it might be appreciated and also appropriate to just make things a little bit lighter. And it also makes me feel like I'm showing a part of myself, but in an appropriate way for the workplace, that feels genuine and authentic to me, and probably also makes other people feel a bit more comfortable to be themselves too. So all of that is to say that, of course, we'll filter ourselves for the workplace, but filtering doesn't mean faking who we are and completely becoming a different type of person just because the workplace, we think, demands it. To gain visibility, to get that recognition and being known by people, what I wouldn't want to suggest to you is that you completely just mimic what extroverts do, because this is not the thing that will make you feel good about yourself as an introvert. It'll just kill your soul bit by bit, and we don't want that. I don't want that for you. What I would recommend instead is that we think about what strengths as an introvert can we use to get visibility in other ways. And the thing that I love a lot and that I think might resonate way more with you in terms of gaining that visibility is building relationships one-on-one and having deep one-on-one conversations with people. Why would that help with visibility? Reason number one is that a lot of decisions get made by very particular people. And the thing that you must do is be able to identify them and have a think about who are the actual decision makers in your company, in your team. Because even though you often have a senior leadership team that's made up of 20 people or 50 people, but within there will also be a hierarchy, there will also be certain roles, there will also be specialisms and people who make decisions in particular areas of work for the thing that you're trying to achieve, the thing that you're trying to do, or the specialism that you're in, who are a few key decision makers. And those will be the key people for you to actually get to know, not just on a work level, but also on a personal level, and build that more genuine and deeper relationship that you are so capable of as an introvert and that you enjoy. A second reason why that is a good idea is because a lot of decisions get made kind of behind closed doors and in much smaller numbers than you'd think. There are many meetings that are supposed to be the decision-making place where everyone is gathered and people get everyone's input, and they must do that because otherwise it might be kind of going against the procedures, or it might be seen as unfair if someone is not present and doesn't have an opportunity to contribute. So there are all these huge meetings with lots and lots of people contributing. But the thing that happens so often, and more often than we'd like to think, is there are a couple of decision makers that meet behind the scenes and they kind of decide what they want to do, and then maybe they have that big meeting to just tick the box and to say that we've consulted with all of these people in this leadership group, we heard their thoughts, here's what we're going to do. But sometimes the thing that we're going to do was decided by like 2 or 3 of them behind the scenes. Because of that, having a very strong relationship with a couple of people can really be a huge advantage in helping you achieve whatever you want to achieve, whether it's a promotion, whether it's just being heard and your opinion being valued, or becoming a go-to person, or being introduced to the people that you want to get to know, because network is net worth. I know it's a cringy saying, but it's very true. I think you get so many things out of a network. Plus, if those people are the ones that actually get listened to, get heard, they're the ones that people go to for opinion, having a relationship with them will mean that you have an opportunity to informally align your opinions. Both ways. You can share yours, you can share your thoughts, you can have an opportunity to present a point of view that you strongly believe, but equally you can have a chance to understand where they're coming from. Maybe there have been decisions that you didn't agree with fully, but if you get to know them and where those decisions stem from and their reasoning, you might just start to better understand the context that you're operating in, and also the challenges that you have to navigate and the different hoops that you have to jump over if you want to achieve a particular thing or get a particular result. Good news is that all of these things are the area where introverts really excel, because we're so good at building relationships one-on-one. We're the people who thrive when we're either alone or one-on-one with someone, or in a small group of maybe 2 other people. That is our subject matter expertise. It's not huge groups, it's not huge public speaking events, it is the smaller stuff. They both have advantages, because with the extroverted tactics, you get way more reach and you get much more exposure, and you get that awareness about you existing and whatever your expertise is. With the smaller number but deeper stuff, you get a real strength of those relationships that you're investing in, and that might actually be the thing that you strategically need. You might not need 100 different people to know about you. You only might need 2 or 3 to know about you and what you're doing and the value that you bring. So given that one-on-one conversations is now our strategy for building visibility as an introvert, let's look at a couple of practical examples of how might you go about it in your daily work life. Suggestion number 1 is discussing things with your manager beforehand. For example, if you have some thoughts for an upcoming meeting, but you know that because of the hierarchy, your manager will probably be the one to speak on your behalf or on behalf of your team, you can share ideas beforehand so that they actually get the airtime that you would like to see. It's not always appropriate to cut through ahead of your manager when they're the one that is expected to speak. I think work cultures differ a lot with how flat they are, realistically day to day, or how hierarchical they are. There are some cultures also in terms of just geographically where it might be unacceptable to speak when your manager is there because they're the most senior, therefore they should be speaking and representing the point of view. But regardless of where you're sitting, the thing that could help you express your ideas and really showcase your thought process and the contribution that you bring in a more comfortable way is have 1 or 2 one-on-one meetings before a big event, a big thing, a presentation, and make sure that you're heard, make sure that you explain the contribution that you've made. You're way more in control of that conversation, and you don't have to make space to kind of cut through and then be able to speak. So your ideas and your thoughts will be way more visible that way. Another thing is sometimes a lot of project success and progress really comes down to personal relationships with the people that are on the project. And the role that you can serve is an alignment facilitator. For example, if you know that there are 2 people who are really not getting along and you know that there's going to be so much tension in that meeting and things are just not going smoothly, and because of that you're not sure you'll achieve what you want to achieve from the meeting that's coming up, what you could suggest is facilitating a conversation between those 2 people and being there to almost mediate and kind of navigate the conversation, because you will be really good as an introvert at being that person in between who can pick up on the different cues that people express that are nonverbal, and also the subtext, the nuance. You can kind of pick out patterns and tension points and summarize, and also see if there are any avenues for compromise that maybe they have not considered. So being someone who facilitates alignment beforehand can be a very valuable role. And also those 2 people, if you kind of, respectfully and professionally force them to align beforehand, and then the meeting goes better than it would have otherwise, they will see the leadership skill in you. Finally, I would really recommend in the one-on-one conversations, when you do connect with people, that you share a bit more of your insights, the things from your experience that you've noticed, the things that showcase the different situations you've been in, that you navigated, maybe where you showed your expertise, where you showed your leadership, where you showed your confidence. For example, if I meet with someone from an organization that I maybe have just got acquainted with, or a new client, and I pick something up about their culture. Sometimes I just have thoughts about, they have this theme popping up that I have seen before. Let me tell them about it because it might be interesting. It can be something good as well. For instance, if I'm talking to someone for the first time, I'm getting to know them, and I know that they're from a company that's very good on inclusion, and I've noticed particular small behaviors in the interactions that I've seen, that we've had, that kind of demonstrate the value of inclusion very well, then I might share that. And you will be way more comfortable sharing it in private, like with one-on-one conversation, than in a big room full of people, because then it becomes so much pressure and you might not want to share little things, little nuggets like that. But it's little nuggets like that that help people see how observant you are, and also how you're able to come up with insights and reflect and the depth of your thinking. If you're chatting with a client and then at some point you say that, by the way, I've had this observation about the culture here, can I share it with you? It's something that I've noticed that I think you have a real strength in. And then you say, I've seen some small behaviors that are very consistent, and I think that they really demonstrate the value of inclusivity. One of them, for example, was, I noticed when we were speaking, you really made space in the way that you facilitated in that meeting for everyone to express their opinion, and you particularly made sure that the people who tend to be on the quieter side were heard. And I really appreciated that. I think that really shows your commitment to inclusion. You know, how cool would that be if you could just share those little bits here and there? And that also sets you apart from other people, because those insights really show your unique lens, the way you perceive things, the way you synthesize them. How do you draw conclusions from things? How do you make links? And that is the valuable stuff. The valuable stuff is not just being able to complete a task and, tick the box. It's thinking of connections, of depth, and introverts specialize in depth. So use that to your advantage. Make sure that you connect one-on-one with the people who are decision makers, but also the people that you genuinely are just interested in, and use that advantage of having very good, very fulfilling one-on-one conversations to build your visibility. If you're listening to all of this and you feel like, oh my God, I really wish I could build my visibility a bit more, I feel like I'm really not seen in my work at the moment, then I've built a 3-minute audit that helps you pinpoint exactly where the problem lies with under-positioning yourself and not utilizing your full confidence and competence and skill set. So if that sounds like it would be helpful, I'm going to leave the link down in the description, and I'm going to see you in the next video. Bye.